One Piece chapter 1156 came out the other day. I made my chapter review, saw a whole bunch of discussion, and so today, like every other chapter week, we're going through all of your thoughts on the new addition to the manga. I'm hoping for a ton of agenda, some new insights, but overall, it's just vibe, man. Every week a chapter comes out, I do these follow-up videos where we get into your comments, and like I always say, we've got a chill vibe going on. I think you'll enjoy it. Just subscribe so you don't miss out. The king of the pirates had heart eyes and got noticed by a woman. There is nothing that can stop Sanji from his destined greatness. Dog, when I was reading while making the chapter review, I completely forgot the reason why the Roger scene was so emphasized by the Sanji fans. I remember specifically that this conversation started up again because of a certain guy whose name starts with a G. Let me explain. The Sanji conquers haki theories have always existed, I feel like, and they especially did after Zoro got the level himself. The pushback from other fandoms, however, was the fact that Sanji didn't seem to have that oomph to him that makes it seem like he can be a conquers haki user. I always found this weird because it's a really stupid way to think about conquers haki. If the, in quotations, spirit of a conqueror was so important and every conqueror needed to have that oomph, we wouldn't have characters like the Gorosei or Chinjiao, yes, freaking Chinjiao having conquers haki. It's too broad of a description. It's pretty clear that's not what's needed for conquers haki, especially now that we're in the final saga. We also had characters with lackluster ambition and drive have conquers haki, like Whitebeard wanting a family, Ace wanting to make Whitebeard Pirate King, Yamato literally wanted to be another person, and the funniest one, in my opinion, is Chinjiao again, quitting everything because he got one shot decades ago. This is apparently a guy who deserves conquers haki, by the way. He was in hiding for decades waiting to take revenge not on Garp's son, but his grandson because he's an absolute bum. But yeah, Sanji can't have conquers haki. But then we entered Elbaf and things started to get serious. We met Gabon and was introduced to his lore and very obvious parallel to Sanji. Then we saw his overwhelming strength as he attacked Luffy. And finally we entered an insane run from chapter 1148 to now. Dog. When Gabon pulled up to save the weaker half of the Straw Hats from Summers and used what we all assumed is conquers haki, everything changed. Not only did it boost Sanji's potential to get the power up, it got some people rethinking what it might mean to be a conqueror. Of course, there were still people denying the entire thing and calling Gabon an armament haki merchant, but then we got to chapter 1152 and Gabon basically told the readers he uses conquers haki by telling Luffy to be mindful of the way he uses his conquers haki. Funnily enough, that same chapter is when the theories came to its peak, as the conversation was directly brought up about the Straw Hats and who has conquers haki. Both Zoro and Luffy have it, and Sanji had been wondering if he had it as well, but we never got an upfront answer. In fact, when Sanji asked Gabon about it the second time, Gabon acknowledges him unlike the first time, and it's implied Gabon told Sanji something important, but we didn't hear it because of Loki and Harden's conversation. Later in the chapter, Oda basically spoon feeds the reader about conquers haki and ambition. Shanks, one of the strongest conquers haki users we have literally ever seen, tells Gabon directly that all he wanted to do was mess around with Buggy all day as a pirate. That was it. Dude had no grand ambition he was striving for, something he wanted to die behind. No, the guy just wanted to dilly-dally all day for the rest of his days. And it still didn't stop there because we finally got some Roger footage this chapter and changed even more things. A more niche reason for why Sanji can't get conquers haki according to some people is the fact that he's a simp. I mean, Gabon is literally the missionary of love, and Shanks told us the amount of girls he had back in his prime, but that's besides the point. We had Roger, another insanely strong conquers haki user, simping his pants off for Shaki of the Kuja Pirates. Funnily enough, we got the distinction with Rayleigh because he wasn't entranced by anyone. Both Roger and Gabon got loaded by her because of their simping, but yeah, Sanji can't get it because of simping. I think Oda might be justifying every reason Sanji can get conquers haki during the chapters in between the idea of him getting it and him finally achieving it. Because me personally, I'm on a train that he will get it and I'm fully on it now as opposed to me like 4 years ago. There's two ways this goes. Either Sanji just has conqueror's haki and he uses it in his fight and is actually useful, or Sanji doesn't have it but has a strong alternative that allows him to get the job done, as well as anyone else with conqueror's haki. All my stocks are on the former. Obviously, if the chapter where Sanji has conqueror's haki comes out, I will probably make a video of me just laughing. Y'all better hope that doesn't happen, because it will be the funniest of weeks. Boa Upscale. I think this chapter proves that Blackbeard had to sneak her like the anime showed. And in the same breath, Gamblrr, we need you on the Hancock agenda. Alright, so reading these comments had me pondering. I think I had a bad perception of Boa, mostly because of her fans. They are super annoying. I actually kind of like Boa's character. I never really loved her per se. Like, if I made a top 25 favorite character, she wouldn't be there. But I do acknowledge her strength and potential. It's just that her fans make it so that I have to talk about her in a more negative light. Can you take a wild guess as to what I mean by this? I'll give you 3 seconds. The Admirals. I am an Admiral agenda pusher, but Boa fans, oh my goodness, they have her on such a high pedestal for the little feat she genuinely has. Specifically, there was this one Boa fan I used to quote tweet back and forth with in 2024, who would always downplay the Admirals and say BS like Boa is top 5 in the verse and smacks all the Admirals, but it's just not true or supported at all. Boa barely was able to sneak Kobe, let alone characters who can literally push her away from any distance, characters who can make clones of himself, and characters who are just faster and can freeze his opponents. Now, going back on topic, I don't have a problem with joining the agenda, to be honest. I think it's a solid investment. I remember me thinking it'd be cool to push the agenda, mostly because of the fact that Boa has conqueror's haki. It's pretty clear on top of her insane hacks with her devil fruit, she'll be an advanced conqueror's haki user in the future, so it'd be stupid to go against the agenda. With that being said, I want to ask you guys your opinion on this. I've been seeing this line of scaling for like 2 years now, and I honestly never took it seriously and still don't to this day, but what do you guys think? Apparently there's 2 Vera card statements that push an insane Boa agenda. The first one being the fact that Boa is stated to be the most beautiful woman in the world. I agree with this, by the way. The second statement is that Boa is as strong as she is beautiful. So if Boa is as strong as she is beautiful, and she's the most beautiful woman in the world, she should be top 1 woman over someone like Big Mom. For the agenda, yeah, maybe I'll use something like that, but I mean, I just have to talk about why I don't take this seriously. If Boa was that strong, and mind you, she's been a warlord for a very long time, the Marines know exactly what her powers are, what they can do, and her potential, also her connections with Rayleigh and the other Yonko. Why the hell is her bounty under 2 billion? Mihawk got a bounty of over 3.5 billion berries from his might alone. He has no crew. Boa literally leads an entire country with her top 1 Yonko level strength, but didn't even sniff Crocodile's bounty. Yeah, right. Let me know what y'all think in the comments though. That's the last time I'll speak on her like that. It'll be straight agenda from here on. Ace looks just like his father. Alright, so I had to include this in the video because it generally made me start thinking about certain things. First off, yes, Roger and Ace genuinely look identical. Roger just has facial hair as opposed to his son. Why this is important is Dragon. This ugly piece of crap looks nothing like his dad and his son. We've seen people like Big Mom. Well, there's literally like one of her kids that look like her, and it's probably someone you don't even know existed. Charlotte Compute? Is that her? Compote? Whatever. Big Mom's eldest daughter, I'd say, looks the most like her mom out of any of her siblings. But the point is that Dragon literally doesn't look like the rest of his family in the slightest. Luffy genuinely does look like a younger Garp in a way, but Dragon doesn't share any of that. I've seen theories of Dragon not actually being Garp's son, and sure, maybe that can happen, despite Garp already saying numerous times that he's his son. How the heck do you get Luffy in this equation? Did he hatch out of an egg? Anyways, why I thought about this chapter is the fact that Garp was introduced as Luffy's grandfather, but not as the father of Dragon. Last time in the story we got mention of Garp being Dragon's dad was 70 chapters ago, 2 years ago, and it was the same time he mentioned being Luffy's grandpa, so it couldn't be just a reminder thing. This might have literally been intentional. Anyways, y'all can let me know what y'all think. To be honest, I don't have substantial things to add to the conversation. I really can't theorize if my life was on the line. It was just something interesting I caught note of. Hilarious how Roger is into women and Luffy couldn't care less about them. Dude, what's so crazy about this is that I saw a tweet the other day that so very conveniently said the opposite of this before this chapter came out. It was a typical Oda slander where they claimed they preferred the scruffier, more mysterious pirate-like Roger to the Luffy 2.0 we have today. And then Oda dropped this chapter and basically almost denied the allegation. Luffy genuinely could not care less about women, and I'm pretty sure the guy even says, "I'm not getting married at all." He's going full speed ahead on becoming Pirate King, and he's not about to let some cutty stop him from achieving it. Roger, on the other hand, while not constantly trying, is attempting to get the girl he wants the most, and gets robbed by her effortlessly without any retaliation. If things got crazy and persistent, he could have been sent back decades of progress. Imagine if bro was simping when he had all the poneglyphs. Things would have gotten hectic. In regards to the tweet though, I don't know, I kind of agreed to a certain extent. We of course knew absolutely nothing about Roger and that's why it worked, but finding out about his very unserious personality didn't hurt either, to be honest. If he was an exact clone of Luffy, that's where things would have been bad, but while they have insane similarities, I feel like they can differ in some way, and obviously their views on girls is a big one. I don't think people would say Gaban is a Sanji 2.0 or Rayleigh is a Zoro 2.0. There's similarities like the love stuff and the stoicism from Rayleigh, sure, but they're their own characters and it works. Bro, I wonder how the heck Roger and Garp are going to beat all these monsters in the end. This has always been a thought, but I'm pretty sure we got some answers throughout the story and actually emphasized in this chapter. The Rock's crew, despite its insane quantity of strong fighters, isn't a strong crew as a collective. There's like a couple of actual bonds on the crew like Big Mom and Kaido or Whitebeard and Stussy. At the end of the day, everyone there is a pirate and they aren't there because they want to help each other out. It's quite the opposite actually. They're there to help themselves out and draw out as many benefits as possible for as long as they can. When Kaido suggests using force to make Hero submit to them, Rocks kicks the crap out of him and it starts a fight. But Shiki stops it from continuing because according to him, a group like theirs is bound to implode sooner or later, but then isn't the time for it. John added onto it and told Kaido to hold off on trying to sabotage the group until they cash in a little more. Stussy, like a chapter or two ago, talked about how she doesn't care for Rox's ambition, but she knew there was something she would gain from it herself, so she continued to follow suit. At the end of the day, they don't care, and we know this is the reason they fell. I remember it being in Kaido's flashback that he basically left randomly during God's Valley, and everyone speculated that outside of Roger and Garp's might, it was really just the Rocks Pirates being sorry as heck as a collective, and I feel like Oda keeps trying to tell us exactly that. I hope we get the God's Valley flashback. It's generally one of the biggest mysteries. It'd be super cool if we finally got to experience it. What do you mean, what happened? She had 85 kids, that's what happened. Alright, in the chapter review, I wondered how the heck Big Mom went from this absolute snack of a woman to this. But I honestly never even thought of the clear elephant in the room. Big Mom had an insane amount of kids after her time on the Rocks Pirates. Now, here's the thing. This era was like 44 years ago, so that means she gave birth to her, wait for it, first 15 children before this. I'm just as shocked as you. I was thinking maybe she had Perispero, her daughter, and then the triplets, but no. Cracker was born a year before this era. Clearly Big Mom had the idea of starting a great empire full of children as early as then, but my question is, did she continue, doing all that stuff during her time there, or did she just take a break for Rocks and went straight back to her shenanigans afterwards? Also, call me crazy, but this being a mother of 15 plus is ridiculous.
Nigga, where your mom at, nigga? Hey, nigga, where your mom at, nigga?
I'm starting to think Blackbeard is nothing like his father, cause if that was Blackbeard and someone on his crew said, let's force your friend to work for us even though they don't want to, Blackbeard would have done it. Rock seems to respect his friends and never actually got Harold involved with his scandals even if he didn't join. Yet Blackbeard beat Ace up and took him in for his bounty, someone he's known for years. Alright, this is a very good point because I think the past two chapters had us thinking the complete opposite. Blackbeard always blurs the lines between business and actual respect for other people. Teach hid in Blackbeard's crew for decades. Made friends, connections, everything. just for him to snake out one of his friends for his own gain. Honestly, when you think about it, I don't truly assume Blackbeard even has a friend or ally like Zebek does with Harold. If he did, I wouldn't be surprised if he would snake them because that's just who Blackbeard is. You don't expect loyalty from a guy who's only concerned with his ambitions and his alone. Harold told bro, no, I'm not going to help you take over the world and reset my decades of progress, and Zebek literally said, fair enough, mate. What's ironic about this is the fact that Blackbeard's crew is actually all in favor of Blackbeard's ambition, and they act as an actual group, unlike Rox's, where he forced everyone onto his side, and even within the crew, they don't really care for anyone except themselves. Maybe in the future we might see Blackbeard undergo a betrayal. Obviously Kuzan would be the first pick for that. He's obviously not working fully under Blackbeard. I mean, come on, he's on this spread for a reason. We're going to see something insane soon. They really tried calling Roger vs. Garp a gag. This was something I completely forgot to mention in the chapter review, but guys, this agenda genuinely exists and I saw it on my timeline. People actually don't believe Roger and Garp are rivals, or at the very least are relative. I don't completely understand the other stance, to be honest, because you'd have to literally ignore everything the story tells you to come from that perspective. I'm an Admiral guy, but at least Oda is over here putting dialogue and showing us things to believe the Admirals are pretty strong in the grand scheme of things. There is zero implication that Garp and Roger aren't rivals, and in fact, there's more implications of them being rivals. I remember that flashback to when Roger was in prison and he told Garp to take care of his son when he's born. Roger himself literally says that they've killed each other multiple times in the past. During Oden's flashback, Roger is over here telling the fodder marines that if they want to capture him, bring over Sengoku or Garp. Not both, either one or the other. There's this chart of relations between the old gen strongest. We have Garp, Sengoku, Roger, Whitebeard, and Shiki all on the same level as rivals. If you Garp down players exist on YouTube, please comment the reason down below because I need to understand you. I cannot see where you're coming from at all. Bro's 1156 chapters in still questioning if Oda loves ugly characters. This was a pretty funny comment because, bro, the last 2 chapters have the most ugly characters I've ever seen. But I don't know about y'all. I think Oda drew Ida with the intention of having her be ugly. But just hear me.